I've known that intriga for 20 years, Philby said live on Radio Moscow, so I can say with authority that Miles Copeland's book, The Game of Nations, is itself a move in the CIA's monstrous game. Overworld recounts some of my experiences under Miles's direction in places like Beirut, Riyadh, Islamabad, Managua, Washington, and ends with an account of a covert political operation that, near the end of Miles's life, I ran for the Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. When Rajiv, my friend and protector, was assassinated, his political enemies came after me, stranding me in a safe house on a beach in Florida. After living most of my life overseas, that felt to me like exile. Thrice, the United States government refused to extradite me to India. But spying and covert operations were things that, more often than not, I'd only done reluctantly, and I hoped that by writing about them, I'd gotten them out of my system. The book was finished. There were no more passages to rewrite, no more page proofs to correct. The U.S. hardcover edition was in production. Foreign rights had been sold. Movie rights had been sold. It was time for me to take it easy. That's what I had come here for, and to hang out with old friends and meet some new ones, the movie producers who bought the rights to my book. After 10 years on the beach in exile and 2 more writing, I was finally free. Just then, almost anything seemed possible. Anything except that I would ever again live a covert life. By writing about it, I had intentionally blown my cover. Once the book was published, spying would no longer be a career option for me, and thank God for that. So, back to the 27th of May, 2004, and my suite in the Argyle on the edge of the Hollywood Hills. During my long, forced march through the first and second drafts of Overworld, I'd lived almost entirely inside the memories I was writing about. It was only during the past couple of months, while I'd worked on final revisions, that I'd begun to reconnect with what was going on in the world. Every day, 2 subjects dominated the news: the war in Iraq and the presidential election campaign. The war wasn't going quite as well as the administration had projected. For most of the past month, the Pentagon and the White House had been reeling from revelations about American soldiers abusing Iraqi prisoners at Abu Ghraib. President George W. Bush, who'd led us into Iraq, was standing for re-election. It was likely that his opponent in November would be Democratic Senator John Kerry. But I was more interested right now in taking care of a little business and then beginning my frolic through Los Angeles. I hadn't worn a suit in ages, so it took me a while to get ready for lunch. I remember a struggle with my tie. There'd been entire decades in which I lived in suits and ties, so how many attempts could it take for me to form a simple 4-in-hand knot? In this case, the answer was 6. It wasn't that I couldn't get the basics right, but I kept having symmetry problems. Then I found I'd brought no cufflinks. I had to change shirts, which I managed to accomplish without completely retying my tie. And my shoes were brand new, still in the box. I had to lace them, and while I did, seated on the Art Deco sofa in the living room, by then I had all the curtains and floor-to-ceiling windows open, and I spent the time listening to bird song and street sounds and looking toward the top of the green hill that stretched out above me, at stilt houses, Andalusian mansions with red barrel-tiled roofs, cantilevered houses, Cape Cods, among impossibly tall palm trees, stands of eucalyptus, cedars, telephone poles, a hillside of people who made their livings by buying and selling dreams. Lately, I'd been considering the possibility I'd begin spending a lot more of my time out here. It felt so good to be here. First stop, lunch at the Palm with an old friend, a Washington attorney. I got up from the sofa in my new shoes and headed downstairs and out into that lovely, cool, warm air, and found a taxi to take me down the hill to the lunch.